Hello, everybody. Happy Tuesday. And man, if you are living in Wichita, Kansas, and I'm sure throughout the Midwest and around the area. We are not alone in Wichita, but specifically in Wichita, allergies has been the hot topic, and seeing everybody's itchy eyes and skin and the sneezing and the coughing. And then one problem becomes two or three, and it mounts. And, we're seeing kids in soccer and football. So they're out in the fields. We've had different, things going on farming wise in our big open air. And we've got the dust and debris and the wind, the good old Kansas wind. So there are a number of reasons. There are a number of irritants. There are a number of things that we can blame. But one of the things that I'm always going to do here and that we're always going to encourage is that we look for solutions, no matter what the problem is, no matter, what the circumstances are, because you can't change that it's September. You can't change that these things are in the air. And one of the things I see in our culture right now is a lot of overwhelm and a lot of as knowledge becomes power, and we're learning about toxicities in the air, toxicities in the water, toxicities in our food. You start to wonder, and I hear a lot of you moms specifically in the practice say, well, gosh, like, what can I do? Like, everything's bad. Like, what do you do when it's all bad? And that's where I want to start today. Is I want to talk about what you can do. And then I do want to talk about some things that I would highly recommend that you avoid. But at the root of everything, I want you to feel like you are in the driver's seat and you are empowered in your health, in your choices, in your life, for your family, and that there's no victims here. Because when we step into that space and you really own that type of vibe in your life and you surround yourself with that type of culture and community, it elevates everything. Because it is very, very easy to slip into victim of like, oh, but I've got this symptom, I've got this going on. And I'm not saying I don't sympathize, and empathize with what you specifically have going on. And let's be solution focused. Let's expect miracles. So you'll see some links in the show notes as we wrap up. Make sure that you're a part of our Facebook group, because I'm going to do a handout with this so that it's all in writing. You can, of course, watch this video again. So make sure and share this with any friends or family members that get stuck in this allergy cycle, or, that start to say things like, well, it's just my allergies, right? It's my allergies. My kids and I had a phenomenal conversation about this, because now they hear it, and they slip and they say, well, it's just my allergies. And guys, let's not label that. Your body is listening. When we start to own that and we start to speak that into our system and really put ourselves in that box, that can be very confining, and we can normalize what doesn't have to be our normal, right? So share this with any friends or family members that might need to hear it. And then, of course, I'm going to do the YouTube plug and subscribe to the channel so that you get the little ding when we do the live on Tuesdays and when different videos come out. So let's jump in the middle of it. What can you do? Of course, I'm a chiropractor. So what do you think I'm going to say? First things first, get adjusted. And I know it's, tempting. And when you're miserable and you're tired and you're itchy and you're puffy and all the things, going in public or making one more stop or one more to do is often the last thing you want to do. But it is usually the most important thing, in my opinion, of keeping your nervous system in tip top condition. This is not just about the symptoms, or that we're talking specifically about allergies or respiratory issues, ear infections. No matter the symptom, I'm going to root you there, not just because I'm biased and I'm a chiropractor, but because in living in that myself and seeing what it's done for my sister, my brother, my family, my kids over years of each season, we get a little bit stronger in our body's immune system when we trust it, when we nurture it, when we believe in it. So when I say things like the power that made your body heals your body, if you're expressing symptoms, it's an intelligence, not a defect. That's not a pitch. That's not a cell. That is a core belief that, quite frankly, you can't move me off of. And so I invite people into it because it's given me so much courage, and it has been really beautiful to watch my kids get older. And when they have stuff going on, it's not that it doesn't It's not fun, it's not convenient, it's not that it never interferes with our life or, 2 of my kiddos have had this going on this week a lot. They're out in football and working out, golfing, mowing, and so they're really in it, really hyper stimulated, but I just remind them, "Guys, like, what are you gonna do about it?" I mean, they know, like, I'm gonna give them a lot of love, and I'm gonna get my essential oils out, but I'm also gonna remind them who they are and whose they are and the intelligence in their system because I don't just wanna care for them in the here and now, I wanna plant those seeds, and that's what chiropractic is to me. That is a reminder that my brain and body are connected, that they are divinely designed to operate at the highest level, and if things aren't working right, I need to look to why and what I can do to nurture, and adjustments really optimize the flow within the nervous system that then impacts the rest of the systems. So there's my chiropractic soapbox for myself, but also for all the moms and parents out there. Other things that you can do. Highly recommend taking showers, and I would add essential oils in the morning when I need a pick me up. I would make those showers cold. When we put our body in a selective state of stress like that, it does, stimulate our body's ability to heal on the inside. So I also think it's very, very refreshing. Now I don't do the cold showers before bed, but if I'm really itchy or I've been out in it myself or my kids are in it, they gotta shower before they go to bed. You don't wanna take all that stuff. You don't wanna be itching if you don't have to, so we do the showers, and we'll add some oils, at the base of the shower to just open up the nasal passages and get that steam going, so we'll talk a little more about oils as we go. For all my people that they know I'm gonna say, "Have you been working out?" And it can very easily turn into one of those excuses of, "Well, I don't really feel very good." Well, just don't work out outside. Still move, and maybe you're not gonna push yourself as hard, but go to the Y and walk the track upstairs. Go do a yoga class, something that's a little more, passive in energy or lower key energy than super, super stimulating if you don't feel that great, but don't cut that part because movement for your lymphatics and your immune system and your respiratory system is key. And that routine, do your best to stay in it because that movement is so key. But opt for inside. Stay out of the outdoors as much as you can if you're one of those people that's being hyperstimulated right now. Look at an air purifier if you don't have one. I bit the bullet and I invested in an air doctor a few years ago. Cannot recommend it enough. We live in the country. We have a dog that is in and outside. I have 5 kids, 4 of them are boys who are dirty, and, like, there's dust and all of the allergens in my house, and so the air doctor is always working. I get it, they are not cheap, but they're not cheap for a reason. It's because they're very, very good. There are a lot of other options out there, but if I'm gonna make my stamp on any of them, I'm gonna recommend the air doctor. Highly recommend a neti pot. It is miserable. My kids hate when we're trying to stick stuff up the nose. I get it, but that rinse and that like purification within the nasal passages and your sinus, it's key. You want to clear that out. Neti pots, throw a towel over your head, do some steam in the over the sink if you're not a fan of those things going up your nose. And we love and keep in our showers the colloidal silver, the sovereign silver that comes in a spray. And so doing that while you're in the shower and everything's warmed so you're just more open, I think is less harsh. And if you don't love, like, pure fluid, which can kind of feel like you're drowning, they make that boogie mist for kids that's a little bit more gentle, so find a way because that process works. So find your flavor of that process of creating a rinse through the nasal passages. Some other things that I would recommend that you have around the house. So well, let's clear out the Allegra and the Claritin and we're gonna talk about the don't do's later. I want to talk about what you can do, but some of the things I replace over the counter allergy medicines with. Make sure you're taking probiotics. A few weeks ago, we talked about gut health and the gut brain connection and how it connects to the immune system. Go back and watch that video if you need a refresher on that. But if your gut health is not optimized, then your immune system is not optimized. So probiotics is one of the easiest things you can get going, and you can do that in a supplement. And I recommend Natural, of course, on the west side of town. They're small, they're locally owned, they know their products really well. They do some muscle testing to help you choose a good quality product. And supplements are good, but I would also opt for them in your food. So I would look at the fermented foods and the kombuchas, um, kimchi's, sauerkraut. I get it that like this is we're eating for purpose, not for pleasure. When our body is symptomatic, We have got to opt for foods we're putting in our, that we're consuming. We need to eat with a purpose to help our body heal, to help our body harmonize. We're not eating for pleasure in that moment because we're directing the traffic and the flow of what we want to see happen inside of our system. So another one, local raw honey. So think about the bees and the pollinating process and how they spend time with our plants. And so when they make honey, our local bees are gifting us a cure. So I love local honey. I love local elderberry. It's very easy to keep handy. Do a teaspoon, take a little shot of the elderberry, keep it handy, make it accessible, and start with these things. We can always go up, we can always add more, but these are some of the fundamentals that springtime, fall time, seasonal, these aren't let's look at some of the things that nature is giving us and providing for us and that are local. We're also supporting local businesses. So local raw honey and elderberry, the colloidal silver I talked about in the spray. I love our salts from that we carry in the office that you can also go visit her, and she has the mini ones that you can get and the big ones. So we'll make sure all these local favorites are going to be linked. But those salts, and as we breathe in, it has the salt. So the oh gosh, what am I looking for? Like the salt lamps, that type of the salt blocks, oh goodness, there goes my brain, with essential oils, and so you can take a deep inhale, and it's gonna clear out the sinus passages. That's why we keep those around. Highly recommend bone broth. You guys can make this at home. I love Borntrager for their bone broth and their raw dairy, both really, really good for the immune system, both on the do this list. So if don't have time, but you can go to Yoder Meats and get some bones, or if you are somebody that works with a local farmer and you're purchasing your beef that way, they come with the bones. So use those. Make that bone broth. You can freeze it and thaw it out as needed. Love apple cider vinegar. Correction, I hate apple cider vinegar, but I love it for its properties. And so, get a little bit of water, put a tablespoon if you have to, of apple cider vinegar in there and get it down. Like again, this is for purpose, not pleasure, right? I get it. They aren't things that always taste good. And this comes with some of the parenting tips of don't bring the devil in the house, which we're going to talk about the don't do's, but also empower them, right? These are the things that like we do these fundamentals not because they taste great, but because they're good for us, and use them as some homeschool teaching in this, because bone broth, apple cider vinegar, like teaching them about raw honey and the elderberry is something that will stick with your kids, right? Because you're leading them, you're teaching them, you're not just telling them what to do, and certainly not teaching them to just suppress the symptom or own the symptom, that it's just what they're stuck with and they're just imperfect and their system just doesn't work as good as everybody else's. Like the fundamental belief system, and I know I'm going to keep going back here, but that that they can heal, and we just need to nurture ourselves. I love 86 cold press. So he does deliveries now. We have a coupon code for the practice, so we'll share that. And you can pick how many juices. He delivers it every week. So he does memberships now so that he knows exactly how many people he's making this juice for. He uses local produce. He makes it specific to seasons. And so you can choose things. And these are the like good fuels that I highly, highly recommend. Some supplements that you can look at, spirulina, quercetin, and zinc are the three that if I'm just picking top three, those would be the three that I would highly recommend. Anti-inflammatory, antihistamine. Quercetin is a natural antihistamine, and zinc is obviously really, really good for the immune system. All three have antioxidant effects, so they're going to lower the oxidative stress. We get sick when our system is overly stressed. So we look at the cumulative effect, right? So let's not just like medicate the symptom. Let's ask why we're expressing the symptom in the first place. We're overly stressed physically, chemically, emotionally, spiritually, financially. I mean, the stresses don't stop. And so there are seasons where we notice that people get more sick, and they are usually seasons where people are experiencing more stress. And so when you go for antioxidant type foods and supplements, then they're going to help your body, the cumulative effect of stress within the system. Allergena makes a allergy by region tincture that I really like. I do keep that handy, and there's some homeopathics that are on our sheet in that Facebook group if you want to jump over there. And then Earthly has some really good products. So I do keep those things. And again, I'll start at the basics. Are we hydrating? Are we resting? Are we doing the baths? Are we doing the nasal rinses? We'll start, basics. Then we'll add some things in, some vitamins to help it out. But I'm not reaching for those things first. I do keep them on hand. Oils, I mentioned earlier, the allergy balm I got introduced to years ago, lavender, peppermint, and lemon. You can do it topically, you can diffuse it. You're going to use a carrier oil, and then you can put it on bottoms of feet. You can do chest, you can do back here, behind the ears, a little bit under the nose. I also really, really love frankincense oil. It is one of the most powerful oils on the planet. I use Young Living. I will put a drop or two in my water and consume it orally. Guys, they've put frankincense in a petri dish with cancer, and frankincense has its way with cancer, right? Like it is so powerful. It is not cheap, and so you can do it topically and dilute it. Again, you can use different reflexology points on the bottom of the feet, or you can apply it topically in areas where you're going to inhale it, or you can diffuse it. I love Young Living. I'm a big fan of their purity. Parents, if you're new to that and you don't know where to start, I really like the book Gentle Babies. It just has an outline of what's safe and how to use it with kids depending on age, because oils, although they're natural, they can have side effects. And so you want to look at how you're using it. Love Gentle Babies. Getting massages is another reason why chiropractic is great. Just clearing lymphatics and getting stuff moving. And I am going to get adjusted today to keep myself clear, because we're all human, right? So different ways to lymphatic massage. I can link a video here on YouTube that I love. Look at baths. We do a lot of baths. My kids love just that time to soak. Well, most of them, there are a few of my boys don't love baths, so we opt for the shower. But I love Epsom salt baths, clay baths, baking soda baths. So we're pulling toxins out, and then we're putting all that good stuff back in. Cold compresses on the eyes, really, really helpful. Chamomile tea bags, you can warm those up and also use those on your eyes if you're somebody that gets really swollen. And if it gets really irritated and you keep digging at it, it just gets worse. So shower, do the cold compress, consider the chamomile tea bags if the warmth feels a little bit better. If you have access to a sauna, sweating is really, really great. The caveat to that is it can deplete you, so you want to make sure that you're adding minerals back in. So do sweat if you're not feeling great, but add back in with some element packets or some Celtic salt. Now, let's talk about a few things that I don't want you to do, or things that I would recommend that you avoid. Limit or completely avoid alcohol consumption. So alcohol is super inflammatory. The effects of the sugar, and just, I mean, literally, it's a poison in our system, right? And so you want to limit it, particularly beer or things that are higher in things like gluten, that are they're going to stimulate your already hyperstimulated and stressed immune system. So when you don't feel good, you know, or shift it. Like don't go for the types of alcohol. If you like are at a social situation, you really don't want to just completely give it up. I'm not going to tug of war that with you. If you don't feel good, try to avoid things like that, and cigarettes or smoke or any vapes that are going to make you worse altogether. If you're gonna, especially stay away from beer, because it's going to be one of the worst ones. Stay away from inflammatory foods. Sugar is bad. Sugar is bad all year long, but sugar is really bad when you don't feel good. And sugar is in everything. So, especially refined white sugar and processed foods. Don't bring the devil in the house. Keep it away. I mean, the fuel that you use, especially, this is where I said problems can go from 1 to 2 to 3, because when your body is trying to talk to you and you don't listen, you will have to pay a higher price. And this is where I said, really watch how you're using your over-the-counter medicines, because it's like putting your health on a credit card. It might work. It might get your eyes to dry up. It might get the nose to quit running. It might get the sneezes to slow down. And I hear you. Sometimes we got to power through, and you got to opt for that, or you're really miserable and it's like Benadryl is my option. But have you tried everything else? Because if you shortcut the system, you will have to pay it back. So whatever you put on a credit card today, you will pay for later. So if it has a drying effect, if these over-the-counter allergic, go look the side effects up of whatever your preferred allergy med is. It will catch up. If you try to shortcut nature as nature's trying to do what nature does, good luck. And you don't just pay it back for what you borrowed in how many days you were shortcutting trying to get through something. You will pay back with interest. And that's where, things seep down into lungs, or it turns into an ear infection or a respiratory infection, or worse with things like pneumonia, or worse where like people get really, really sick because they're not listening when their body is crying for help. So avoid sugars, avoid alcohols, avoid processed traditional dairy. So I am a fan of raw dairy. I'm a big fan of Born-Traeger dairy. So I'm a fan of that. But milk in general, dairy in general. So if you're a cheese person, you're a person, talking about your kids too, you gotta limit it. I mean, it's just going to stimulate mucus production. Try to avoid it. Again, I'm not talking forever. Now, I do think some of us need to make bigger lifestyle shifts over time, and maybe it is never for you because you have a sensitivity to these things. I'm not going to tug of war that with you. But when you don't feel good, become your doctor by making food your pharmacy and going for the good stuff and staying away from the bad stuff. It is simple. I know we get overwhelmed, and we have been taught to just take the pill and make it go away. But there's another way that pays us back. Instead of that credit card analogy, you're actually creating a savings account that then next year your immune system is stronger because you let it navigate what it needed to. It built intelligence within your cells, and you're going to be stronger next allergy season. So, go through the process of what symptoms and like healing cascades are gifting you over the long haul. We get so in the now that we forget the payoffs for later. So avoid alcohol, sugar, dairy, avoid caffeine. This is a tough one for me. I love a cup of coffee. Um, I love, my pre-workouts when I'm going for a good workout at the gym. But caffeine is going to work my kidneys and adrenals, and it's going to tank me. And if my body is in a process and it needs me to give all of my energy units to healing, then I can't siphon them away by going for. So, again, make good choices here with these things. Go for harmony, right? We want to try and create balance in the ecosystem. And yes, we want it to happen as fast as possible. That's why I tried to make you a really long list of things that you can do. But it's the overuse of antibiotics, the overuse of over-the-counter meds, of Flonase, of all of the, pharmaceutical man-made things. Look at what happens with your system and your child's system when you make harmony the goal instead of attacking. We have this war mentality of like, I'm sneezing, I got to turn it off. I'm snotting, I have to wage war on my sinus, all the way to cancer, right? Like we wage war against these intelligent patterns happening in our system. And I would just invite the curiosity. That's again why I love chiropractic, because I'm not adding anything when I adjust you. I'm not taking anything away. I'm flipping levers, for lack of a better way to put it, levers within your spinal column that create impulse from body to brain and brain to body that help harmonize and optimize the system. That's why I love that. And massage and acupuncture, um, because it works within nature's systems. It always comes back to basics. So, are you getting adjusted? Are you taking time to pray? Because when I pray, especially on the days when I'm suffering physically, it's amazing how I can get an eagle view and go, I know this is my body doing its thing. And that, moment of prayer of like, bring me healing. Let today be the day that it's better. And trust in this ecosystem is big. Make sure you're hydrating, good quality hydrating foods and drinks. Make sure you're moving. Make sure you're resting. That's that counterbalance. Look at your fuel and just do your best to keep learning and unlearning, because that is the evolution of healing. If we do what we've always done, we'll get what we've always got. So if you're somebody who tells me it's my genetics, it's just my family, I've always had allergies, okay, I don't think anybody is stuck in any kind of box. And we say expect miracles all over our office because we see them every day. And I don't think the story that you've carried, I don't care if it's for a month, a year, 6 years, 10 years, 20 years, 40 years. I don't care what story has defined your health up until today. I believe you can start making different choices and learn new things that take you on a different trajectory and just 1 degree at a time. Maybe still default to things. Maybe you're not gonna give up and you wanna keep some of those things I said, maybe stay away from. Maybe you get an air doctor. Maybe you get a massage. Maybe you try some oils. Maybe you do an Epsom salt bath or a clay bath or a baking soda bath. Maybe, you try the spirulina or the quercetin. Maybe you get adjusted. Just start making different choices and you will land on a different path. So I hope that this was helpful. Join us in that Facebook group so you can get the printout version of this, that you can ask any questions. If you have any recipes or anything I didn't cover, because I don't pretend to have all the solutions. If you are somebody out there that you're like, God, I suffered with allergies forever and this worked for me, please share it here. Please come over and share it in our Facebook community, because that Facebook community is really meant and designed to be the space where everyone can network and communicate and talk about what's working in your world. So I love you guys. I appreciate you. I will see you next week. And I hope this brings you just a little bit of light on Tuesday and takes you and your family closer to health. So I will see you soon.